Did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know?
I think people of color, particularly Black individuals, wake up each morning to an uncertain future. Am I going to be stopped by the police today? Am I going to be stopped unjustly? Are my academic abilities or my job abilities going to be underestimated again because of the color of my skin?
It's really hard as a Black person to walk out every day, living in fear of being stopped by the police, living in fear of being followed around in a store, despite how successful you may be, how determined you may be, how nice you may be.
As Black people, we have a weight that we're carrying all the time, okay? There's so much injustice in this country that it slows us down. I feel like I've been running a marathon along with everyone else, except I'm wearing a weighted blanket.
You're not completely comfortable. You always feel like you have to, keep an eye on things and know your rights.
Who do you see when you see me?
Who do you see when you see me?
You cannot be just a student. You cannot be just a doctor. You're always a Black student, a Black doctor. People will always see your race first, and then you explain what you are or what you can be.
I'm from Nigeria, and when I came to America, I was like, what is going on here? You come around me, I treat you like a king, and I come to your country, you take me like a dirt. I don't understand it. I don't understand how a human being could do that.
You go to the doctor, and it's times when my husband had to kind of go off at the hospital when our daughter was sick one time because she was dehydrated, and they're trying to tell him, we're not gonna do this and we're not gonna do that. He's like, no, yes, you are. And he's just like, if I wasn't Black, I don't feel you would treat me that way or would treat my child this way. So we're constantly always having to stand up and defend ourselves.
I've been called by patients, everything from a nurse to security in one matter, despite the fact that I'm dressed in a white coat and dressed as a physician. And so it's been frustrating in a number of ways to have worked so hard for so long and to have patients undermine your competency. It's very hurtful.
In healthcare, as you go up the ladder and you get into higher positions like physicians and other decision makers in management, I do see less and less people of color and less Black people.
It was a prime example of that happened at work. We had a lab party. And so they did a little game where you provide your baby pictures. And so they have to guess who's the person. So I'm just like, well, everybody got a free point off of me because I'm the only Black person. You know what I'm saying? Hello.
Do you really know me?
Do you really know me? My father always wanted his girls to know that you are a Black woman in this country. I want you to understand that because things will happen that doesn't make sense to you. And he tells this to us as a kid. You just gotta understand your role in this world and how some people view you and sometimes how you have to advocate for yourself.
It's hard to articulate challenging experiences because that is often received, unfortunately, in a negative way. We are constantly reframing how we talk, reframing how we act, reinforcing others, and creating an environment where others are most comfortable with who we are, yet we are uncomfortable.
I feel like we're underutilized. I feel like we are just as American as everybody else. And I feel like where we need to go, we're gonna have to get there together.
Does my skin cause you to doubt my ability to succeed?
Does my skin
cause you to doubt my ability
to succeed?
I transferred between schools in grade school, and I was refused admission to honors classes simply because I had transferred from a different school. And at the time as a child, I don't think I realized that it was due to the color of my skin, but there were other incidents over the course of my grade schooling experience that let me know I was different and I was going to be treated differently.
People will doubt you. It's as if you enter this world and there's just a lens that people will see you through. Everything you do is already pre-written for you. Your story is assumed almost. You walk in a room, people aren't always going to assume oh, this is going to be the next great doctor or scientist.
I think my story is not an isolated one. I think a lot of individuals of color, particularly Black males, are frequently underestimated when it comes to their intelligence and their academic ability in the classroom.
We're looked upon as less than or criminals or, certain things that there's criminals in every race, that is just how it is. But when it's come to Black people, it just gets a different light put on it.
It's like death by 1,000 cuts, okay? These tiny little jabs here and there that just sink into the depth of your soul. You know, and people still expect you to come to work with a smile on your face, being the sun, you know, in the room, but without realizing what else we have to deal with.
This is not just an issue in the United States. This is even a global pandemic. Racism is a pandemic, and I think collectively we need to stand up as humans to be able to combat this and fight racism in a way that Black people have their voices heard, they have representation, they can live freely without being afraid of what might happen to them or to their children on the street.
Let's have the conversation.
Let's have the conversation.
When Black people say we want justice, we want equality, it doesn't mean that we're taking something away from you. It means that we want to be treated the same way that you are.
To move forward, it has to be where you're gonna have to start giving more Black people a chance.
You could put two people side by side, two resumes, and if you have an ethnic sounding name, you won't get the job, and that is not okay. That's not equality.
It's almost like you're going against the grain, but it's always beautiful at the end when you do make it because you're like, I succeeded even with this.
For me, being Black is being blessed. Being Black is being full of greatness and potential.
Because for me, it's about the next generation, right? My daughter, that's biracial, the way she's going to be either thrive or not thrive in this country. So it's about the legacy we want to leave for our kid. It's a place where everybody's treated with dignity, you know, equal opportunity, and a place where people could thrive and excel.
I think that it's important to continue to create opportunities for Black people to excel as leaders. I think that we begin to tip the scales when we shift the power dynamic in this country at all levels. So it's really important that we place Black people in roles where they can continue to grow as leaders and are held on platforms as leaders and respected as leaders.
We have a lot of work to do. We want to have the conversation. We want you to get to know us. Like, don't prejudge us. Don't put stereotypes on us.
If you look at the system, the way it's built, the foundation is white supremacy. This is not time for blame. This is time for action.
Getting people to understand what the issue is the easy part. It's how do people behave once they hear about these experiences? What do they do to support us as a community?
I have a vision for Black people in the future to not always be playing catch up. I have a vision for the future to where Black people are equally represented in their profession and in education. I have a vision of Black people in the future being healthier and being happier.
The world is watching. What will be your contribution to change?
The world is watching. What would be your contribution to change?
The world is watching. What will be your contribution to change?
The world is watching. What will be your contribution to change?
The world is watching.
The world is watching.
The world is watching.
The world is watching.
What will be your contribution to change?